My name is Nick Nason. I'm the co-founder and CEO of IMBY. IMBY stands for In My Backyard, and that's where the idea for IMBY has come from. It's also where we're looking to make a difference in the world. So, as Kate mentioned, for many years before founding IMBY, I worked in energy and carbon sustainability in both public sector, large corporates, and also startups. I inevitably found myself working with the built environment, places that we live and work, and looking for ways to make it more efficient. So whether that's automation, new technology, behavioural change, how do we put less resource in and have more emissions, carbon emissions and pollution coming out the other side. A lot of the job was focused on connecting what are actually fundamentally disconnected spaces when we get down to it, trying to draw inference and run analysis over these disconnected spaces. Sort of within that sort of whole smart city rubric. This is an absolutely random slide I picked up off the internet that demonstrates smart cities quite well. You'll see that every point around the outside points to human technology or built infrastructure or the built environment. So when people talk about smart cities, they are talking about how we make human technology smart. And I started wondering, well, what about all the spaces in between the built environment? The green infrastructure, the green spaces, the spaces that are actually already intrinsically connected. We don't have to connect them, and they're actually intrinsically smart as well, so we don't have to make them smart. What we need to do is figure out how to reveal the connections so that we can make use of that knowledge to actually make our cities a healthier, happier place to be in. And that's the challenge we set ourselves. Luckily, this idea of blue-green infrastructure is actually permeating at the top, up to the top I should say, or down from the top. With planners and developers and researchers all now talking about the benefits of blue-green infrastructure in cities, from climate change adaptation and mitigation to, say, rainwater mitigation, through to health and well-being of populations who need green space to stay sane in a busy urban city. But again, a lot of these projects are from the top down. They are led by developers, led by researchers, led by planners. And we're looking at ways of getting the information to individuals' hands and to ordinary people's hands so people can actually play their part and feel that they have agency to actually make a difference where they live. So what we need is a lot of data, and luckily there is actually a lot of data out there already. The UK is possibly the most surveyed place in the entire world. There's more societies and charities focused on esoteric plants and animals than you can shake a stick at. A lot of citizen science going on, epitomised by RSPB's Birdwatch or Butterfly Conservation's Big Butterfly Count, where there's more than 50,000 people a year taking part in that now. We have a lot of research going on at universities focused on specific areas of work and of improvement. The smart cities movement itself means we've got the tech on the streets already, weather stations, air quality stations, sort of providing hard data about what's going on in the environment. And we actually know that one at the bottom corner, we know a lot about the soil that the cities are built on. And recent research has shown that the soils are a lot higher quality than what was originally thought, certainly much higher quality than a lot of the farmland that's around cities. The one thing that's really missing from that data picture is private green space, what goes on in people's private gardens. If you talk to researchers, it's hard to get, it's expensive to get, and it's hard to keep sort of current. And that's important because that makes up about 50% of green space in an urban environment. So if we have all these top-down planning kind of approaches, but it only tackles 50% of the space, we've still got a problem to solve, and that's why we need to get individuals engaged with this area. So we're looking at how we can do that at IMBY. And what we're trying to create is effectively a personal ecological intelligence tool, if you like. So if you know, or it knows where you are in the world, it can tell you about the health and the environment around you. It can tell you some of the challenges in the environment and give you suggestions for how you might improve that. We have a number of use cases that we're working to. So the idea that you might understand you have an air quality problem, but that you could plant some plants to help mitigate that. Or my mother's use case, which is the pollination check. She's recently planted a fruit tree, doesn't self-pollinate. She's literally going to wait for the next 2 or 3 years to find out if it's going to give her fruit. It'd be a lot better if she knew the trees that were in the area, or she could ask a neighbourhood to maybe plant a similar tree. Wildlife support is a big one. It's actually the genesis of the IMBY idea. I did my research. I got a multitude of top 10 lists for plants I could plant in my garden, but none of those top 10 lists told me what wildlife was in my garden to start with, what challenges that wildlife might be facing, and whether or not any of the plants recommended were any good for my garden in the first place. So it turned out that they were next to useless to help me make the decisions I needed to make. And then perhaps the most important one is connecting people to other people in the community. So finding out that there are people who are interested in the same things that you're interested in, a group maybe saving the sparrows, maybe working with hedgehogs, butterflies, bees, whatever it might be, and bringing you together. And that's really vital for what we're attempting to do, because what we want individuals to realise is that they're part of the whole, both in terms of the community that they operate in, but also in terms of the green space, the gardens, the patios, the balconies that they have. We want people to understand that they're part of a broader ecosystem, and so the actions that they take within their garden impacts on that ecosystem and vice versa. And the whole point of that is showing people that you can have agency. So in a busy, crowded urban environment, you can still take some control over that environment and have a positive impact on it. You don't need to feel disconnected and wait for somebody else to solve the problem around you. So that's INVI. We're a personal ecological intelligence tool. Our aim is to help ordinary people bring nature back into the cities where we live.